Well, let me start by asking, how many of you know someone who is a natural born leader? Put your hand up if you know someone who's a natural born leader. Yeah? Yeah, someone nodding, but I said put your hand up because I want you to keep your hand up if you are a natural born leader. Well, now look around. Yeah, Miriam. Now maybe, you're being shy and humble and there's one or two people who are and they're just a bit afraid to fess up to it. But that doesn't surprise me. In fact, natural born leaders are very, very rare. According to the American Christian researcher George Barna, 1 in 8 people, just 1 in 8 are natural born leaders. But I think that's not my experience. My experience is more like just now, 1 in 20. There's about 20 people in this room. There's probably one person, just one person, who's a natural born leader. And you know what? That is not enough. That is not enough. If we want to change the world, plant churches, make disciples, fix problems, seize opportunities, do those good things that God wants us to do in the world, then we need more than 1 in 20 people to step up. We need more than just one person in this room to take a step of leadership. We need more leaders. We need more people than just those who believe they are natural born leaders to step up and lead. Now you say, I could never do that. I can't imagine myself leading my way out of a paper bag, let alone leading anything significant. But my message is that world-changing leadership is within the grasp of more than 1 in 8 or 1 in 20 people. World-changing leadership is within the grasp of us all. Because leaders are made, not born. One reason we resist leading is because we're afraid of failing. If I step out, if I take that step, I might fail. And so we think it's only those people who are natural born leaders who can succeed. But that's not the case. When I did my theological training 25 years ago, there was a year group ahead of mine. We were in first year, they were in fourth year. And it was a year group that was mega impressive, chock full of natural born leaders. You just look at them and they stood out. And what's been interesting, and sometimes sad, and occasionally even tragic, is to watch their careers as the years have gone on. Because one by one, those guys, and they're all guys, those guys have failed in leadership, some significantly. So that even now, only a couple of them are still in leadership. Natural born leaders can fail as easily as the rest of us. And the rest of us are as likely to succeed as they will. You do not need to be a natural born leader to change the world, which is really good for the other 19 out of 20 of us here. And it's really good for God as He seeks to achieve His purposes in the world. What you need are 2 things if you want to lead. The first thing you need is to know that something needs to change. And I'm sure that each of you is aware of something in your life, your church, your community, your country, something somewhere in the world that needs to change. Or you know of an opportunity that you can take. Which means that you are already halfway to being a leader. You just need one more thing and you're there. And that thing is courage. You need the guts to step out and make that change that you can see needs happening. I was speaking to a Ridley student recently about what she did in the mid-year break. And she said, "Oh, I went to Iran." I said, "What, you went to Iran?" "Yeah, I went to Tehran, the capital of Iran." "Wow. Who did you go with?" "Oh, I went on my own." "You went on your own? To Tehran? A woman?" I'll tell you. It turns out that she knew a family in Melbourne, Iranian family, who had family back in Iran who needed help. And she took it upon herself to go over there and spend 2 weeks with this family, helping them out. I thought that was an amazing piece of courage that she showed. But you know, we have all kinds of students who do amazing things and show extraordinary courage, and so are displaying leadership and making a difference. Like the couple who are doing ministry to Aboriginal communities outside of Katherine, or the guy who's planting a church in West Melbourne, or Miriam, who you heard before, who also took herself with a friend over to Istanbul, making a difference in the lives of those refugees. Or missionaries who are going into places that are so dangerous, we're not even allowed to know or to name publicly the places where they're serving. But we don't have nearly enough. Most people are happy to serve. Most people are happy to follow, but they're not happy to lead. But we don't have a crisis of leadership in the church. We have a crisis of courage. We have a crisis of courage. But you know what? None of us are born with courage. We are born with the opposite of courage. But let me tell you where courage comes from. I love the letters of St. Paul and spend a lot of my time studying them. And in 2 Corinthians, Paul describes himself as a leader. And what he makes clear there is that he is not a natural born leader. He doesn't have the charisma. He doesn't have the persona. He doesn't have the brilliant speaking ability to be a leader. He is weak. And yet, he transformed the world. 2,000 years on, we still feel the effects of his ministry. But in the same letter, in 2 Corinthians chapter 5, we read the secret to his success. It's not that he was a natural born leader. He says that he is successful for 2 reasons. The first is that he has the Spirit of God working through him. So that when he takes a step of leadership, when he seeks to make a change, it's not him who's doing it, but God who's doing it through him. He has the Spirit of God. And you know what? So do you. You have the Spirit of God. So you are 1.5 out of 2 the way there. He had one other thing. He knew something needed to change. He had courage that was born of the knowledge that the Spirit of God is working through him. But the other thing he goes on to say is that he also knows that as a Christian, the worst possible thing that could happen to him, the worst possible thing that could possibly happen to him, is that he could die. And you might think, that sounds like a good reason not to do something to me. But Paul says, well, hey, if I die, I go home to be with the Lord. And if that's the worst thing that could happen, then what am I worried about? And so he steps forward. You see, if you want to change the world, then the real question is not, am I a natural born leader? The real question is, do I know that the world is not right, that something needs to change? And secondly, do I have the courage to step out and make a difference? Leadership, world-changing leadership, is within the grasp not of 1 in 8 or 1 in 20 of us. All of us can lead and change the world. I know that you can see stuff that needs to change, that you're not happy with the world the way it is, that you're not satisfied with the status quo. There are opportunities there to be seized. And I know that as Christians, the Spirit of God is at work in you. So what is stopping you from being a leader? Thank you.